Imagine waking up in the middle of the night to complete silence, only to realize that something is terribly wrong. The air feels heavy, an unnatural stillness lingers, and somewhere in the darkness, an unseen presence lurks. That's the chilling atmosphere that engulfed the small town of Villisca, Iowa, on June 10, 1912, when one of the most gruesome and baffling mass murders in American history was discovered. 8 people, 6 of them children, were found brutally slaughtered in their beds. More than a century later, the case remains unsolved, its haunting details still sending shivers down the spines of those who dare to dig deeper. The victims of the Villisca Axe Murders were Josiah Moore, his wife Sarah, their 4 children, Herman, 11, Catherine, 10, Boyd, 7, and Paul, 5, along with 2 young girls, Lena and Ina Stillinger, who had been invited for a sleepover. In the dead of night, an unknown assailant crept into their home and massacred them, one by one, with an axe. The brutality of the crime was unimaginable. Every single victim suffered severe head trauma, their skulls shattered with multiple blows. It was as if the killer harbored an unspeakable rage, one that left no soul spared. The morning after the murders, Mary Peckham, the Moore family's neighbor, noticed something strange. The normally bustling household was silent, no children playing, no morning chores underway. Uneasy, she knocked on the door. No answer. She tried opening it, locked. Growing more concerned, she called Josiah's brother, Ross Moore, who arrived with a spare key. What he found inside would forever be etched in his memory. The sight of blood-soaked sheets, lifeless bodies, and the stench of death filled the air. Every member of the Moore household, along with their 2 young guests, lay lifeless. The town of Villisca would never be the same again. The Villisca murder scene was not only gruesome, it was bizarre. The killer had meticulously covered the victims' faces with sheets or clothing, as if to erase their identities. The axe, still stained with blood, was left in the guest bedroom next to a 4-pound slab of bacon. A bowl of bloody water sat nearby, suggesting the murderer had attempted to wash up before leaving. Even stranger, all the mirrors in the house had been covered, as if the killer couldn't bear to see his own reflection. The way the crime had been executed suggested a deliberate, almost ritualistic approach. The house was in perfect order, with no signs of a struggle. This meant one terrifying thing: the victims had been attacked in their sleep, unaware of the horror about to unfold. On the evening of June 9, 1912, the Moore family attended a Children's Day service at their local Presbyterian church. The Stillinger sisters, Lena and Ina, were invited to spend the night at the Moore home. They returned home at around 9:30 p.m. Not long after, the town settled into the quiet darkness of the night. Sometime between midnight and 5 a.m., an unknown intruder entered the Moore home. It is believed that the killer hid in the attic, waiting for the entire household to fall asleep. Once the house was silent, he emerged and began his rampage, striking each victim repeatedly with the blunt side of the axe. One by one, he silenced the sleeping occupants before slipping away, vanishing into the night like a ghost. The investigation was chaotic from the very beginning. In a tragic failure of law enforcement, the crime scene was left unprotected, allowing dozens, if not hundreds, of townspeople to wander inside, unintentionally contaminating evidence. Police had little to work with, but theories began to emerge, each more sinister than the last. One of the most infamous suspects was Reverend George Kelly, an eccentric traveling preacher with a disturbing obsession with young girls. He had attended the same church service as the Moore family that night and left town early the next morning. Years later, Kelly actually confessed to the murders, claiming that he had been driven by divine visions. But his confession was riddled with inconsistencies, and many believed he was mentally unstable. He was tried twice, once ending in a hung jury, and once an acquittal. Despite his eerie behavior, no solid evidence ever tied him to the crime. Another chilling theory pointed to Senator Frank Jones, a well-known figure in Villisca. Josiah Moore had once worked for him, but later left to start his own business, taking valuable clients with him. This rivalry reportedly fueled intense resentment. Some speculated that Jones hired a hitman to exact revenge. However, No concrete proof ever surfaced linking him to the murders. Another potential suspect was William Mansfield, a man accused of committing eerily similar axe murders in other states. The methodology was almost identical. Families slaughtered in their sleep, the murderer using an axe found at the scene, and lamps being used to minimize light. Was Mansfield the elusive axeman of the Midwest, responsible for a string of gruesome killings? If so, he managed to evade justice, leaving behind only speculation. The Villisca Axe Murders remain one of the most disturbing and perplexing cold cases in American history. Over the decades, many have tried to uncover the truth, yet the identity of the killer remains shrouded in darkness. Theories abound. Was it a personal vendetta? A ritualistic killing? A random act of violence by a drifter? The answers may never come. But one thing is certain. Something deeply evil passed through Villisca that night, leaving behind a house soaked in fear and sorrow. Today, the Moore home still stands as a grim monument to the past. It has since been turned into a museum and has drawn paranormal investigators, ghost hunters, and thrill seekers from all over the world. Many visitors claim to hear whispers, see shadowy figures, and even feel an eerie presence lingering within its walls. Some say the spirits of the Moore family still remain, trapped in the house where their lives were stolen so violently. The Villisca Axe Murders may never be solved, but they serve as a chilling reminder of how one night can change everything. What happened inside that house is the stuff of nightmares, a horror story without an ending, a mystery forever left in the dark. As long as the case remains unsolved, the question will continue to linger. Who was the faceless shadow that crept into the Moore home that night? And will the truth ever come to light? Perhaps some mysteries are meant to stay buried. Thank you for watching, but remember, the truth is always lurking in the shadows. If you're brave enough, subscribe for more true stories, because the next mystery might be closer than you think.